Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be checking out Puffin Forest D&D Stories, Changes I Made to Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Now, I don't actually know anything about this module, and I was going to say I did, and then, no, I actually have no idea. To make a little idea of why that's surprising me, I looked this shit up for fun, normally. I've looked into a ton of the different campaigns because it's cool to read through them, because with how often my D&D group meets, I'm never going to get to a single one of them. But still, yeah, and I did get to this one. So I'm going into this very blind. It's kind of fun because more stuff and told from Ben's perspective. So yeah, there's a link below, original video. It's going to be awesome. Hit it up. Let's get started.
Hi, hello. Spoilers for the Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I'm going to be talking about the module. Anyway, thank you. Enjoy. I remember telling my group that after I'd finished playing Strahd that I wanted to run them through Waterdeep Dragon Heist.
Oh, so it's literally... Okay, so to give context, I've seen his entire breakdown of the playthrough he did for the campaign for Strahd, and after all of that level of I don't fucking care and depression of it's horrible for everyone, don't worry, you win, but I'm going to make sure you still lose, they were dragged into this, and I think the rope is probably necessary. I'm not sure if that was in or out of game, but I don't think either way is wrong. This is definitely a complete 180, isn't it?
The module of mystery, subplots, intrigue, and terrible quests. Modules themselves, at least the way Wizards of the Coast makes them, are not easy to run. They often give DMs vague notes on how they're played. I can understand why from the perspective that instead of trying to have a beat for beat, A happens, then B, then the villain does C.
Oh, what is that thing? Not a slot machine. Pinball. That's a pinball machine he drew. Honestly, I didn't really know what we were looking at. I thought it was just like a random plot map, but no, it's pinball because the pins. Not the pins, the levers. I don't actually know what those are called. The flippers? Maybe that's it. Yeah. Also, Wizard of the Coast not entirely doing something great. That is shocking, I hear. And yet, no one ever seems to say that.
What they try to say is like, the villain will attempt to stop the party from reaching the summit.
But
how? That's up for you to decide. Because of this, there's an entire cottage industry of different ideas for how specifically the villain does this. Mine made...
Wait, so are there modules for the module just on giving you ideas? On the one hand, neat. On the other hand, it almost feels like Wizards of the Coast is kind of abusing homebrew at that point to caver? I can't speak today. Cover up with the fact they don't know what they're doing. Nah, that couldn't be the case.
A magic escalator of snow that slows them down. My villain rolled snowballs at them. Sometimes I like to call it creative voids, where they want the DM to fill in the blank. If it's done artistically, it can kind of add to the work and give the DM more say in what's going on. And other times, it's bad. I like the metaphor.
Yeah, I would definitely be the GM who does, it's bad. I would definitely, considering that last image, go, okay, congratulations. There's a pillar of light in front of you. It starts moving towards you. I don't explain what's going on, and don't tell them, yeah, I gave the DM a death laser from space in a satellite. I'm not a good GM. That's why I don't do it.
Of hand-holding, because one way of looking at it, it can be nice to have someone guiding you through it from moment to moment. On the other side, they're holding your hand. You can't separate from them. You're physically stuck to them. I think sometimes what people want is to read chapter 1 and run chapter 1 and not have to worry about chapter 1 again, and then read chapter 2 and not have to worry about what's going on in chapter 6 or chapter 7, or have the module go, didn't you know there was something relevant on page 6?
In other words, they don't have any future notes. You're just supposed to discover it as a GM as you play it, except plot happens. So it's like, oh, you killed the villain. It was his clone. I'm sure that's definitely going to be the case. I mean, can you imagine any franchise would say, oh, by the way, the villain's back and it's a clone now? I mean, I can't think of any Palpatine who would do that. That would just be weird.
I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't normally run the D&D modules just because I think like most people, the creative juice that I get is metaphorically squeezed by players playing through a unique world that has its own rules, and that maybe they have no idea what's going to happen next.
Instead of being able to look it up?
I do think that modules can serve to be a good jumping off point for your own narratives and stories.
Oh, interesting way to use it.
I knew going into Waterdeep Dragon Heist, I didn't want to play it, exactly by the book.
What did he do?
This would be my second time running it. Also, one of the players had already played it before once, so there were a few things I knew I had to scrap because of spoilers.
Oh, so, okay, that's why 2 out of the 3 are surprised the other one is. It's like, cool. On the other hand, if he plays into that, he could really fuck with it and surprise all of them. And this one more than most because, yeah, they know for a fact. Nope. This is different. Oh, fuck.
Like, for example, one of the NPCs is actually a spy, but
What?
I had to scrap that because, well, I don't know. Maybe the player already knew it. I don't know. There's no way to ask that without being suspicious.
Oh.
Hey, did you suspect that one of the peoples who may or may not be involved may or may not be someone who's trying to undermine the... Whatever. Screw it. I'm not going to be running that. Also, Chapter 4 sucks.
Is that a bird?
I'm sorry, I get what they were going for. The idea is that there's a sentient magic thing that they're trying to find, and they're directed to go to a location, and what do you know? The item that they're looking for isn't there. And when they get to this new place, what do you know? It's actually somewhere else. The module...
I'm sorry, part of the actual official module is your princess is in another castle. How old is this that they got away? I don't actually think it's that old. It's 5th edition, isn't it? Oh, they knew better. They did it anyways.
Does
this just filling space
7 times, which takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get through. So for 3 long weeks, the players are just...
I thought it'd be like, okay, here's an hour. 3 weeks! To point out, I know Ben has really long gaming sessions, like 6+ hours he's mentioned in other videos, and for 4th edition, he mentioned it was 12+ hours. He got a job, came back, and they were still playing a session. So his sessions aren't short. 3 weeks! For an empty fetch quest! And I mean, you know what? I could see if someone said like, oh yeah, but we're going to put all these NPCs they can interact with. They're going to be so cool. It's going to flesh out the world. No, I know for a fact Wizards doesn't do that because I've seen other modules like run to this town and talk to people for 2 hours and then do nothing. If building the world and using this as an example of why you're doing it, sure, that's great. This is 3 weeks of your princess. That's not a chapter. That's a punishment for people listening to the designers.
Just chasing red herrings. I can see why on paper it looks fun because it's guiding the players through the city.
Fun.
You're meeting all these colorful NPCs, but
no. You do that once, twice, maybe at most. Colorful NPCs, neat. 7 times. Unless you're allowed to just do a montage, which honestly I'm hoping someone would do. They give you creative freedom, but apparently this part was not the freedom part.
But playing is real drag. They even have this mechanic, and this one is the one that actually gets me the most, where what if the players get to the MacGuffin before they're supposed to? And the answer in the book is that the MacGuffin doesn't want to talk to them.
Are you fucking serious? The stone doesn't want to be found too easily, though. If characters obtain the stone earlier expected, it proves uncooperative and tries to separate itself from the party as quickly as possible, refusing to share any knowledge with characters in the meantime. The stone tries to take control of anyone who deals with triggering a conflict. If the stone fails to take control, it can't try again until the character is next on. If the stone succeeds in taking control of the order, it orders that character to deliver it to whichever location that sets in motion the sequence of events discussed in the chapter Encounter Chains. Once the stone divests itself of its current owner, it tries to erase all knowledge of itself from the character's mind. You know what? I actually don't mind this. But this is one of those things where you need the party to be at least a little semi-aware of what's going on. Like, I know it would break immersion, but you know what? Fuck this. Knowing that the item is out to get you and having everyone else try and key into it. And then this is one of those times like the equivalent of, I have dark vision. Everyone's shouting that because they walk into a dark room. I would love if they suddenly said, I have detect magic vision. Honestly, if your party allows enchanting, not the dumbest thing out there. I mean, that's a massive homebrew and stupid. But frankly, when it comes to rituals, you might as well just cast on an item. It actually makes it a lot more fun. Personal opinion. Very easily broken. Do not do this if you actually care about balance. Being forced to forget those annoying. It's like, hey, don't worry. I'm going to take over your controller. And so you don't remember, I'm not going to tell you what you did.
Because they haven't gone through the necessary steps. Rereading it, it's actually even worse than I remember, because I shit you not, this is what happens is if they get the item and they're not supposed to have it, the MacGuffin mentally takes control of them and then forces them to give the stone up to wherever they're supposed to go. So you're like, I need them to go to the windmill. So it has them.
On the one hand, That's stupid. On the other hand, God help me if the rest of the party doesn't catch like, hey, he's acting weird and going off to the windmill. Maybe we should follow him because he picked up that weird stone. I don't know. I don't know.
It just like drags them to the windmill. They then drop the item, and then it has them return back to the rest of the party. And then the player suddenly has him.
Try and keep it out of their hands for as long as possible to maximize suspense. Whoever wrote that last sentence, independent of everything else, should be fired on the spot because they don't understand suspense. Or the English language. This is not suspense. This is just wasting time. When they waste time in video games, it's because they're trying to pad their runtime. I thought this was padding. If the suspense thing's going on, either there's someone who's deluded and trying to pad the runtime of a game to make it seem like it's a lot longer than it really is, or it's someone who is so incredibly stupid that letting them near anything with a plot line is a mistake. I have very strong feelings about this, apparently, and I was not expecting that in this video.
Amnesia and doesn't remember doing any of that. Why? Why did they think this was a good idea?
I'm going with very heavy usage of
any of that
things. Ooh,
I also used the potions and alcohols from taverns and tankards.
Ooh.
Basically, when you get to a tavern, they sell magical boozes like Goodberry wine.
I did not know this was a thing. You know what? Usually I'm used to Dingo being the one tempting me to buy things for D&D that I don't need. And now I'm very much being tempted because this looks very cool. I love doing this shit.
Fire breath ale, etc. Which give you a benefit but make you drunk. And so is this interesting kind of mechanic where you could drink a lot of these potions, but then they would like make you drunk. But if you were someone who had high constitution, you could suddenly drink more. And so there were these downsides. So I really liked the kind of dynamic or the balancing mechanic between them. I thought that it added a lot to what was normally kind of a very simple mechanic. Since I was going to be having my players coming in at first? 5th level instead of first, I decided to just add a little, just teensy-weensy bit of difficulty. But maybe, I might have dialed the fights a little too difficult. I don't tell my players that.
Did they fucking the dragon?
My players ended up losing almost all of the fights in that one. I think of the 6 fights we did early on, they either lost, TPK'd, or ran away in 4 of them. Which now ended up being that whenever
they TPK'd multiple times. That's not a balancing issue. That's a Ben is enjoying this and doesn't want to admit to it issue.
I talk to the players about a game, I always like to go, are we going easy, medium, or Waterdeep level of difficulty?
Oh, God.
After the first session, 3 of them had gotten captured. Let me just set the stage.
No, that's a TPK.
They're tracking down a missing person. They go to the skewered dragon and start asking around. One of the players gets tricked into drinking a knockout beer, which causes him to go unconscious for the next 10 minutes. So, fight starts. One of the players is unconscious.
And
they're fighting thugs plus some boozes or ooze golems, and the warlock is very generous with the.
I'm sorry, ooze golem? I kind of love this. That's actually a really cool idea of a golem. Is it a golem that's made of ooze or an ooze that's just an artificial one? I don't know which way I like more, but that's actually really cool.
Fire magic. He lights his own side on fire. Our tiefling casts darkness. The party's going through the classic runaway dilemma where they end up getting split up. Some people want to stay, some people want to run, some people want to run but have to stay because maybe they're in melee, leading to our elderly rogue rescuing our halfling and escaping while the rest of the party got captured. So the next session ends up being a split game.
Wait, the unconscious guy got out? Also, it says Team Jacob? I'm missing context, aren't I?
We had 2 players with a solo adventure and the sewers making their way to the rest of the party, while the others were trapped by Xanathar, getting tortured for information about the Stone of Golor, which also led them getting into another fight that they almost TPK'd into, but they were fine this time.
How?
Which was great, because I didn't want to have to DM a game where it's like, they took you into their dungeon, but we were already in their dungeon. I mean the even deeper dungeon that's a sub-dungeon of this one. That way we have to go on another rescue mission. It's like a nesting dolls of torture. But
dungeons within dungeons, man. Also, that's one way to handle the TPK, but honestly, not my favorite.
both for the players and myself. Now, if you don't know about the story, what
that
is
just three
the
eyes?
Stone of Golor? Well, you see,
Hideous.
it's this MacGuffin that the entire module is based on. The concept is that Lord Never Remember hid a set of gold in Waterdeep and embezzled money, and that this stone is the key to finding out where that gold is hidden. Each of the different villains was trying to find the key to the vault. That way they could claim the gold and use it for their own nefarious purposes. For my game, I split the stone into these shards and hid them around the city.
Oh.
That way, instead of it being like, oh, you just need to find this one item. There you go, you did it. The story was more like National Treasure, where there were these clues that they could get to use the treasure.
be
And they were
useful depending on how the
intentionally
clues are.
hidden to be found. Not by Never Remember himself, but maybe by some other adventurer who would come along and claim the prize for themselves. One idea I tried to implement, and it just ended up not working out that.
I'm sorry, you took this idea from Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I'm assuming that's what he's bringing up, because isn't that the dungeon that's like, hey, do you know what's really fun? First edition where everything kills you. It's like Tomb of Horrors, but they brought it back.
That well, was trying to incorporate Undermountain into the main storyline. And like, in theory, it sounds like it would work. So just to clarify, you have these two locations. You've got Waterdeep and Undermountain, which lies beneath. Waterdeep is the city above ground that's a 1 to 5 level adventure, while Undermountain is like kind of 6 to 20. So at the time I was thinking like, well, if I put the characters in at 6th level and I've upscaled Waterdeep, then that means they should be able to go into Undermountain, right?
Even I know enough about this to never think that. I'm coming to the conclusion, Ben is kind of a sadistic GM. I mean, fun, but also, oh God.
You know? Because theoretically speaking, you know, I almost never use this Undermountain material, and the players could just pop in there, do like a mission there, come back out. It'll be great. Like on paper, it sounds like a great idea.
On paper, having a MacGuffin that intentionally screws with the players to not do it and drag things out also sounded great. Oh no.
But it didn't work out.
You think?
Really, they were so absorbed in the Waterdeep plotline that it didn't make any sense to add this entire other module's worth of material. Another change I made was...
Actually, I wasn't expecting that outcome. I thought they'd just be shafted in there somehow and get distracted and never do anything else. But I guess, you know, this is more interesting. Stick with that. It is actually pretty telling that Ben was telling a convincing narrative based on his changes to the module. So, well played. Well played, Ben.
Was with the haunted house. When they first arrive in Waterdeep, they receive a house, and this is in the book. And when they get there, they see these portraits and paintings and stuff floating around, blood on the walls saying "get out," and they find out that it's haunted.
Neat.
It was also funny that one of the characters, Val, his character was based on Courage the Cowardly Dog, where he's like the scaredy cat that wants to avoid danger but keeps running into it anyway. So we had some great scenes of him in bed going like, it's not haunted, it's not haunted, it's not haunted, while the branch of a tree is like a finger tapping at his window, and a candlestick held by nothing floats down the hallway. So normally in the story, the ghost was just kind of this old owner who wants them to turn the house around to be at peace, which, to be fair, the players are already probably going to do, so it's not much of an incentive. Mine was a murder mystery. I have the players uncover his old journal tucked away underneath the floorboards.
Are we talking about his... Wait, it's under the floorboards where he hid his diary. Okay, no. He's the murderer, isn't he?
And find out that the last owner was murdered and track down the killer in order to rid the house of the ghost. But they didn't do that, so the house was just perpetually haunted. The other change was with the villains. In the module, you select one of 4...
Oh, I noticed it. Yeah, you set up all the villains as if they're freaking magic cards. You gave them 0/0 toughness and attack. Wow, that's gonna take a shit in its own right.
Seasons. Each season has a certain mechanical benefits and penalties to it on how it's played. I just decided to scrap it and play whatever, whenever, because that seemed like the most fun. I mean, all in all, Waterdeep Drogenhoist has some really interesting ideas.
Drogenhoist. Okay. That's probably the most fun pronunciation I've ever heard. I love it.
Ideas in it. I just think that those ideas were not implemented in the best way. Instead of it coming off as a story of political intrigue and espionage, the villains just don't seem to care about the main characters. But overall, yeah, I still really like the module for the world building and lore it does. Anyway, thanks for watching. I will see you on the next video. Goodbye!
So overall, that actually looked like it would be a pretty fun campaign to run with his changes, because if he tried to bring in entirely different stuff at much higher levels with much more difficulty, and the plot hook of the initial campaign was more compelling, that's actually sounded like a really good endorsement for Ben telling a really good story through the use of a fixed module. Which, considering what he said about that MacGuffin, I was not expecting. I thought they would jump at the chance to get out, but no, apparently he was, yeah, he's a damn competent GM, if slightly sadistic. Because 5th level is not going to be enough to get into that thing. I know enough about that Dungeon of the Mad Mage that it's as close as 5th edition gets to a D&D, AD&D, or whatever you call it, 1st edition, bring multiple characters, style adventure. Yeah. But I haven't played myself yet because I can't actually seem to get games. Gonna try and fix that, but D&D, where anything is at your fingertips through the World Wide Web except for scheduling issues. That's always going to happen no matter where you do it. If it sounds like I'm salty about that, roughly though, it's my schedule. This is the one holding things up, so I have no one to blame but myself. Yep. Basically what I'm saying is, if you haven't already, there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. Puffin Forrest did a great job, and I really like this because I love seeing these aspects of how he's tackling things and some of the things you should be aware of in case you're ever DMing, and then just fixing it so you don't happen to run into a situation where you're like, oh, hey, I read through the first chapter, we read through the second chapter, we get to the 4th chapter, fuck no. No, you know in advance. I don't mind that kind of stuff. Mostly because I'm not a DM, and again, I have said before, we're probably not going to get to this storyline. Maybe incorporate it into future games, but not play it itself. So yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Link below, hit it up, because this was a really good video. I'm glad we watched it and checked it out and saw what's going on. And hey, more Puffin Forrest is always good. And if you like it, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.